are we all together? Why are we all here? I remember this. Almost remember.
Hi there, I'm Chris and this is Dan.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking a little bit about Day of the Doctor today, the Doctor Who episode that screened in cinemas over the weekend, and having a chat about maybe what that means for the future of TV. So Dan, do you want to maybe set the scene and talk about what happened at the weekend?
So if you didn't see Day of the Doctor, it was the Doctor Who 50th anniversary episode, and it was part of a kind of globally synced up live event. So no matter where you were in the world, they were trying to get all Doctor Who fans watching it at the same time. So you could watch it in England, obviously on BBC One, you could watch it on BBC America, I believe. And in the UK, you could also go to select cinemas and watch it on the big screen. And it actually did really, really well, didn't it?
I have some stats, in fact.
Fact, man.
Yeah, the show screened on 440 cinemas in the UK and made £1.8 million. And to put that into perspective, that makes it the third most successful film on UK screens over the weekend, behind Hunger Games and Gravity.
But you made the good point that that's slightly skewed because Doctor Who was only one screening.
Yeah, it was a single live show. There were a few repeat screenings, but those other films screened several times over the weekend.
Like multiplexes, yeah.
And only screened once. So what does this mean for the future of TV? Do you think other production companies are going to be looking at this and thinking, we can get a piece of this pie?
I think two questions. Will they or should they? Like, personally, I think I've been saying this for, like, weeks in the office, or months, actually. Like, last year when Game of Thrones came back, and I think it was after maybe one of the Neil Marshall episodes, I just came in and just went, I would absolutely love, if I paid a subscription fee, I'd pay like 50, 60 quid to have a membership card at a London cinema, and I could go every Monday night and watch the latest Game of Thrones episode on the big screen, because it is so inherently cinematic that I want to see that almost in a cinema environment.
It'd be like buying a season ticket for a football fan, wouldn't it?
I would absolutely.
Like a geek season ticket.
Yeah. Perfect. And I would do it for multiple shows, I think, as well. And I think it'd be a great way. Also like the idea of going and having that kind of communal event. Again, the sports comparison. Going with the same bunch of people every single week, experiencing those cliffhangers, like in a very kind of matinee way, actually.
Yeah.
Because like matinee idols on Saturday mornings prior to films would kind of fuel those kind of cliffhangers.
Well,
Where you get the phrase cliffhanger.
I know a group of girls who every Sunday get together and have Downton Abbey parties where they all watch that collectively, and they could just transfer that to a cinema. And we actually watched the first episode of the second half of the final season of Breaking Bad, didn't we, in a cinema?
Yes.
Because Netflix, as they had the show. Yeah, they screened it, and it was quite good fun watching it on the big screen.
It was really good, and you know, especially with the talent drain from Hollywood to TV shows are becoming more and more cinematic. The production values are escalating. You know, was it like $1 million an episode towards the end?
Yeah.
You're getting Hollywood A-list talent featuring these shows. Same with the directors, same with the writers, even arguably better writers, because it's more of a writer's medium TV, because you've got longer to kind of like tease out stories and lay groundwork. So I think we're both kind of in agreement that TV does work on the big screen, but do you think it would happen?
I don't see why not. I mean, I've got a friend in the States who runs a cinema in Austin, Texas, and I know they do that for a lot of shows. They serve food there as well and drink. But for Mad Men, they'll screen Mad Men every week, and you can buy the drinks that Don Draper is drinking in any one episode. And the same with Game of Thrones. They screen Game of Thrones, but they also serve food, like feasts from the show. So I don't see why that couldn't take off. As cinemas are trying to look for ways to get people in when TVs are getting so good in people's homes, entertainment systems and 3Ds at home, it's finding ways to get people back into cinemas. And certainly I was having a chat with a guy from Picture House the other day, and he was talking about what they call, it's called alternative content or alternative programming. And it's become a really big thing for Picture House cinemas and cinemas in the UK. I believe this year it's worth about 20 million. And it's those screenings of gigs and ballets and plays and opera and sporting events.
I went to, a couple of years ago now, I went to an Everyman cinema, and Everyman do a regular thing where they broadcast operas, but they also broadcasted Danny Boyle's version of Frankenstein, which I couldn't get tickets for to see at the theatre.
Yeah.
So I went to an Everyman showing of it, and it was live actually. They were broadcasting it live from, I think, the National Theatre? I think it was on the National.
Yeah.
And I saw it the night where Benedict Cumberbatch played Frankenstein and Johnny Lee Miller was the monster. And it's kind of interesting because Danny Boyle directed the play, but he also directed the camera movements. So you were watching a play, but it was shot like a film. So you had like aerial shots, tracking shots, pans. It wasn't like a locked off view, like we were just watching a play in a cinema. They kind of adapted the play into a more kind of cinematically appropriate form that we were watching it in. And it was great. Like, I've never had that kind of experience before in a cinema. But I know, like, for instance, sporting events have started being shown in UK cinemas
European
as well.
Championships were in cinemas.
Wimbledon.
I think Wimbledon final was. That Danny Boyle one, what's interesting as well, is that I think about a month ago, that screened all over America as well. So it's obviously becoming a big part of cinema over here. So I don't see why television won't jump on the bandwagon. And plus, you know, you're seeing that Doctor Who made nearly 2 million in one day by just putting it in cinemas. Why shouldn't other shows do it? It's another stream of revenue.
Yeah.
So what other shows would you watch then? If
Probably Mrs. Brown's Boys. If they brought that to it.
Yeah.
It's just, again, innately cinematic.
Eggheads.
Eggheads.
I wouldn't miss an
I would
episode.
love to see a massive CJ movie. What else? Game of Thrones, I think, is the one that really kind of stands out.
The American ones, I think Game of Thrones and Walking Dead
Yeah.
are quite obvious ones, although I've gone off Walking Dead this season. But I probably would have, that first season of Homeland, when it was all we were talking about in the office, I think we would have gone together to watch that.
Yeah.
UK ones, I think Downton Abbey would be a big earner. It's such a huge phenomenon. And I also think I would watch Sherlock, because they're moving.
I've watched a 90-minute long episode.
90 minutes, 3 episodes.
They're showing one at the BFI soon, like the first episode.
Oh,
and I just thought it'd be great to watch that. And also, now they have 2 bona fide movie stars in as well, it kind of again elevates it.
The 3 episode thing arc as well works for me better, because say 12 episodes, or you know, some of the American shows 20 episodes, making that commitment to go every week, I might not be able to do that. But when I know it's just 3 weeks of seeing 3 Sherlocks, or Luther was the same, wasn't it? Luther was 4 episodes. Well. That's something I consider.
Again, shot very cinematically. That is London. Like, I don't know how well it would work, you know. Although Coronation Street in 3D in D-Box. That's the full-on experience.
But it's as TV is getting so much closer in terms of quality to cinema, I don't see why we need to have this delineation between the two.
I think with those shows that are kind of on the cusp, you could enjoy it in both formats, because it's a show that very much sits at the intersection of film and television, so they're kind of comfortable in either environment.
Yeah. Cool, so that's what we thought on the subject, but it'd be great to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below whether you would go and see TV at the cinema, and then what shows you would like to see.